Hi, this is Luann Algoso, and you're watching Strength in Numbers. Today we're chatting with singer and songwriter Connie Lim, who was part of the Strength in Numbers Kickstarter music project produced by Chops. She's in the midst of releasing her first full-length album, A Better Part of Me, which was funded by her successful Kickstarter campaign last year. I'm excited to speak with her today and to find out what she's been up to since the project and what we can look forward to from her soon. Thanks for making time to speak with us today, Connie.
Yeah, no problem.
So can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and how you started in music?
I am a Los Angeles-based songwriter and performer, and I started writing music when I was really young, but mainly classical piano pieces that I would compose. And then eventually, I went to high school. I was on dance team. I was always surrounded by music, dancing to music, and I developed an eating disorder. I had anorexia, so I had to leave for health purposes. So I stopped dancing. And so I found myself at my home all the time by my piano. And so I don't think it was a conscious thing, but since I was always around music and I wasn't dancing to it anymore, I think I just started making pop music. So I just started playing and singing at the same time, um, like my junior year of high school. And when I went to college, I went to UC Berkeley. I was studying first pre-med, then pre-business, then pre-law. And throughout those years, I started exploring songwriting, carrying around a journal with me everywhere, writing down like things that inspired me. And I started meeting people who recorded me because I was singing in an a cappella singing group at UC Berkeley called the Golden Overtones, and they're still around. They're very much like that group on Pitch Perfect. Like we had the like really formal outfits and our traditional songs and stuff, and eventually we had to go through a revolution. But that was, 11 hours a week, and would perform on campus outdoors an hour every week. I ended up winning a competition for best soloist, and that's when I was like, oh, because I always thought to myself like, oh, singing is just something that I like doing. But even though when people would ask me like, oh, what are you good at? What do you want to do with your life? And I'd always in my head say, I want to be a singer, but I would never say it out loud because I thought like that's a silly notion. And so it wasn't until like getting heavily involved with singing at UC Berkeley was when I started understanding that it was not really a choice. It was pretty much like assigned to me by whatever the powers that be. And so I just started following the path and took the LSATs, and I decided that I wasn't passionate about it. And so I told my parents that I was going to come back to LA to pursue the music industry. And I knew it would take me a while because I had no connections, no knowledge of it whatsoever. I studied politics and economics at UC Berkeley. So music was only something that was my own private thing. So understanding how the industry works, and understanding that music becomes something that's commercial if I want to enter the business was totally foreign to me. So it's been a really, really amazing process, just getting humbled and learning, and every day just trying to be better. But yeah, it's been a cool process.
And were your parents supportive of your choice in pursuing music as a career?
It took about 2 years for my parents to really understand the amount of effort and work I was putting into my craft. And my dad's a surgeon, and when I was young, he would always tell me, find a skill in your life so that you can serve your community. And I think he started realizing I was trying to build my skill, even though I wasn't trained formally or had any idea what I was doing. So now they're really supportive. I mean, there are moments where they get scared and they're like, one day you should be normal, like do something stable. But I think there's some opportunities that are blossoming now, and it's been like 4 years. It's not a fast thing, but I finally feel like things are showing me some type of reward. But I'm not doing this for reward, but at least it's like, oh, okay, I'm starting to see my work transpire into something bigger than myself, which is pretty cool.
I read in your blog post about you writing the song More Than Real.
Yeah.
I wanted to read this quote from your blog, which I found really thought provoking. You say, the producers started to ask me to change myself to fit TV more. I was too artsy, they said, too liberal with my interpretations of my material, too mid-tempo. Could I do a top 40 tempo? Could I not play piano? A pretty girl doesn't need to play an instrument. Could you do the Asian accent? We heard you do that imitation of your mom with the other contestants. Can you do that on national TV? So, in thinking about all of the molding that takes place when an artist pursues a mainstream music career by record labels and production companies and all that, how was that experience for you in dealing with that during your stint on The Voice?
Doing The Voice was the first truly mainstream experience I had, because before that I had just gotten picked up like literally off the street from a management company, and they signed me, and I was so green, did not, I was so really idealistic. It was pretty amazing that I pursued a business and I didn't understand that I would be creating product, that I would be a product. And so The Voice was a moment where I realized, I was like, oh, I'm a product, because they had categories for singers. There was country, there was pop, there was rock, and there was R&B, and they didn't know where to put me. And I honestly didn't even know where to put myself, because I just never thought about it. Some artists get that really young, and they start understanding the business side much earlier on. It was difficult for me. I remember crying in the hotel rooms and talking to my dad about, like, should I do the Asian accent? Like, I can do it in front of friends and it's a joke, and we're like in a room of 10 people and it's intimate, like fun thing or whatever. And, to have it amplified, that's a whole other story. I'm a goofy person, and I don't like, I like doing accents, like country accent, like all accents. I'm just like a goober, but like, I didn't know what it meant to do it at a scale at that level. It was too much for me. And to be honest, I basically backpedaled and I was like, we need to change the story, and I don't want to focus on race. But now that I look, to be completely honest, like hindsight, those television shows need a simple and straightforward story, because TV consumers don't have time to understand too complex of a story. And I didn't know that as a younger artist. But now that I look back, I wouldn't have strayed away from the race thing. I would have just somehow avoided the whole accent thing, because that's a whole other thing. But, the storyline of a Chinese American girl, like, finding her dreams in America, I thought in my mind that it was kind of boring, because that's my life. I live with it every day. But, like, for national television, it's a good enough story. So I learned a lot about simplification of storyline, because the public needs things to be concentrated, not necessarily dumbed down, but really simplified. Now I'm at a place in my career where I'm finding that I'm getting opportunities as a songwriter, so I can write for younger pop artists who are perhaps like much younger, like 18, 19, and are already starting the molding process. Like 4 or 5 years earlier than I did, because I started around when I was like 23. I find it a blessing that I can go to the studio and work every day and write. And the whole artist side, I was telling my friend yesterday that as a songwriter, when the producers ask me to modify or mold a melody, sometimes I may disagree or I may totally agree, but it doesn't hurt like it hurts when someone tells me to mold my body or mold my personality. That's hard for me. And so I'm currently at a place where I'm starting to find a lot of joy of placing my talent to help other artists. And then that will free myself of pressure to have to compromise too many things as a recording artist and performer. I'll just do what I want as a performer and recording artist. If that doesn't jive with what the commercial businessmen want or businesswomen, that's okay, because I'm writing for artists that are doing that and are comfortable doing that at a different level. So it's been a really cool journey. I never thought I would feel that way about performing, because when you're young, in like 20, 21, it's like that ego wants fame or wants to be well known, and it's like, I want my name on that CD. And my love for music, it has taught me so much that I don't need that. I don't need to be the name, but I do need to write really good songs. That's been the process for me. So I don't know what it really exactly means yet for me and my perspective of being just a recording artist and performer, because I love live performing. But I do know that now I feel a little more free. So it's been interesting.
Oh, wow, thank you.
It's a really long response.
No, it was a really good response, though. So, how did you and Chops start working together for the Strength in Numbers album?
I was introduced to Chops via email by my friend Steve Wynn, who is the director and producer of Hibakusha. That's a documentary about the World War II bombings. It's like a animation film / documentary, and I did voice acting in his film as the main character as a younger girl. I told him that I was going to be exploring the East Coast touring. It was like my first tour, so I reached out to him and asked him, do you know any people? And he said, well, I know this guy, Chops. And so I reached out to Chops, and Chops was very, very friendly and so nice. And so we met up when I was playing a show in his town. I was playing at an Apple store out there, and then I remember him rolling up in his car with his friends, and we hung out. We just kept in touch, and he sent me a track, and it was just like effortless. It was like the song just wrote itself, and that's a song I Do.
Where did you get the inspiration to write I Do?
I was in a relationship at that time, and we were getting pretty serious, and the question of long term or the words forever, I feel like all relationships have to encounter that idea that we've learned through movies and Disney about forever and marriage and all that. And I was definitely feeling at that time like I can promise that I'm going to do my best now, and so that was a really cool feeling. And then Chop sent me the track around that time, so I just wanted it to be kind of like a feel-good song.
It's lovely. I love that song. What does Strength in Numbers mean to you?
Collaborating and eliminating ego so that we can work towards a bigger cause. And, when I was younger, like elementary school, middle school, high school, I would always be searching for women to look up to, in the American culture. Like, of course, my mother and my sister and, my family members are all amazing mentors. But I'm first, I don't know how, some people call it different things. I'm first generation, meaning my parents moved here, or might be called second generation. So they come from more of a perspective of upbringing from Hong Kong. And I was looking for women that I could look up to that were like me, that I could somehow like get some guidance from. And, I searched the mainstream media because that's like the first outlet that's available to a little tween. And I couldn't find anyone that looked like me or came from my similar background. And I just thought, one day I want to be able to be in a community where my daughter will have people that can help guide her. Like, she'll need guidance outside of my motherhood. And so this is one of those things that helps amplify stories that are not amplified on mainstream media so much. I mean, things are really changing. I'm seeing a lot more representation, which is amazing. So I think it's a very powerful thing, and it's very positive and very inviting. I like that. And it's very fitting because Chops' personality is very much like that. So that's what it is to me, yeah.
And how would you describe your music, and where do you draw your inspiration from?
My music is completely heartfelt, and I draw my music from empathy, understanding or listening to friends or strangers' stories, catching certain details of people, whether or not they were trying to communicate that to me. I like to pick up on nuances, and then as I've matured as a songwriter, now I just hope that my songs are like greeting cards where someone can buy it or download it for free and relate to the card and find that it has a really meaningful message enough so that they take that greeting card and they give it to someone else with their own writing on it. So it's like a vehicle for people to tell their own story. I'm striving to write greeting cards, heartfelt greeting cards. Hallmark.
By greeting cards too, though, do you also mean like that it's easily accessible, that it's commercial, and that it's, everyone can relate to it kind of thing too?
Yeah, I think what like effective communication. I think a song is 3 minutes long. Like if we're writing a movie, a movie is sometimes over 120 minutes. We have time to develop these ideas. But with a song, we got like 3.5 minutes. So each word has to be like really powerful, and it's like an iceberg. I always think about Hemingway when I'm writing songs. Like I'm always like, do the Hemingway thing where I just try to say as much as I can in a very small amount of space, but to also be really direct. And greeting cards are so direct. It's like thinking of you, and that's the card. It's not like thinking of you and happy birthday and I'm sorry for your loss. It's like just one thing. So yeah, I definitely am always striving to write things that people can understand on first listen and feel touched by. I think that's the goal.
So I never thought I'd meet anyone quite as enamored with Los Angeles as I am. What inspired you to write the song LA City off your new album?
It's part of the knowledge that I knew I was going to get my butt kicked when I moved out to Los Angeles. And at first, I had a really high fever. I was working a little too hard. Sometimes I don't know when to stop. I have learned how to stop as I mature. But the song by Ray LaMontagne is called New York City is Killing Me. And I was listening to it while I had my fever. I was like, yeah, LA City's killing me. I sat down and it was like anything but a killing me song. It was such like the opposite. And I think I was just trying to get myself through the fever. And it was such a simple song, and I recorded it. And I was like, it's so simple. I don't know if people are going to like, they might think it's boring. And people are listening to fast-paced music now, dance music with beats. And this is like a simple progression ballad. But then I went to Washington State because I was singing about a long distance relationship about this guy I was seeing in Washington. And I sang that song, and I like sang it like towards the end because I was like, okay, I guess, I'll try some of my new songs. And I played that song, and afterwards, all the people that were at the show mentioned that song. And I was like, that is so interesting. And that's happening with another song on the new record that I'm releasing to the Kickstarter fans. There's this one song that everyone's mentioning off the album now, and I was like, that was the last one that I thought people would mention. So, like, I can't ever dictate. It's really cool. It's like this psych project, it's like a psychology experiment. It's like, which one are people going to like? So the one that I'm talking about in this album is called Just As Good, and I don't think the producers or me were anticipating that at all, so it's pretty cool.
What's the current album you're listening to right now, and what's playing on your iPod?
I'm starting to get opportunities to write for some mainstream pop artists, so I've been studying a lot of pop, and it reminds me of my childhood because when I was like in high school, I was listening to I was watching MTV, I was listening to Top 40 radio, and it wasn't until college I started doing like the indie stations, KCRW and Paste Magazine Music, and now it's like a full circle. I'm back to listening to Top 40. I really like Drake's Coming Home. That beat is ridiculous, and the production is amazing. John Newman is really exciting to me. He's the one that's like, I need to know now. No, now, will you love me again? I just love that song. I think that Lorde is providing the mainstream media with a really good voice. It's like a really good counterculture voice, even though she's like #1 right now, so it's not quite counterculture. Oh, and I know Miley Cyrus is ridiculous, but the songwriting, this girl named Mozella wrote the song Wrecking Ball, and Mozella was very similar. She was like an indie singer-songwriter, playing at Hotel Cafe and stuff, and she's got signed to a major. She did her own artist thing, and then she transferred it into like just songwriting for other artists. So she wrote Wrecking Ball, and I think Wrecking Ball is a really brilliant pop song. And who else? Oh, and Neighborhood. Neighborhood is so fun to listen to. That's where I'm at these days. I've told myself I'm going to go into a whole phase of relearning like Babyface's catalog. I want to listen to more Mariah Carey again. I just want to digest their melodies, and that whole 90s thing is making a comeback, and it'd just be cool to listen to some of the greats do it again.
And what do you have planned for the upcoming year?
The plan is to do a lot of songwriting. I have always craved a really consistent workflow, and as an artist, like things and performers, like a lot of things get in the way of being able to create songs, and so my goal is to be writing daily. I have a Midwest tour set up in Minneapolis, Chicago, and a city called Marshfield in Wisconsin. And so that just happened. I just happened to get a really great supporting community in the Midwest. And so I'll be doing that, and then probably be releasing some type of original body of work, like an EP towards, I don't even know. I don't even want to say a time, but definitely not in the beginning half of the year, because I'll be promoting this LP. And then based off of audience reaction, I'm going to choose a single to make a music video for. I had something planned, but the audience is saying something else, so I'm going to follow that. It's like so fun, you know? I know that one of my songs called There She Walks Again is getting picked up for a TV show. Another song called Pour Me More is going to be in a feature film. So that stuff, like I'm really excited to announce that type of stuff and just be working every day.
Is there a mainstream artist that you're working with right now to write songs for?
Yeah, I'm not really like allowed to say, but yes, it's I'm learning a lot because it's my first chance to do so. So I'm just soaking in. I basically have people grooming me to do pop songwriting, so I'm just like I have my ears wide open and just learning every day.
Great. And where do you see yourself in the next 3 years?
3 years. I see myself building a strong catalog of songs, placing some songs with artists, and placing my own material on TV shows, and hopefully some more feature films. And I think by then I'll have written enough for people and like studied enough pop that I'll feel the bug bite me again to want to create a new sound that I can call my own. So I'll probably be releasing my own material as well. I'm hoping that every day I wake up, I'm walking into some type of room where I'm collaborating with other music creators to make music that means something to somebody. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Great. Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like for our audience to know?
The album that I'm releasing is dedicated to some of my friends that have passed, and I did want to mention them. My friend Betty Ho, and founder of this venue called Wits End in Los Angeles, they have passed away, but you know, their stories bring out the better parts of me because I'm, you know, definitely always remembering how lucky I am to still be here. So Betty passed, and her passing has brought up a lot of thoughts for me about depression and about suicide. And I am going to be teaming up with some organizations, and that's like in the works right now, but my intention is to team up with organizations that help people battle things like anxiety or depression or self-image issues, so that people can not want to give up, or it's okay to want to give up, but that not actually following through with that intention. So I'm starting to get stories and some reach outs about it, that they know that they can come to my music and listen and hopefully feel some type of companionship, because we all go through it. So.
Thank you. Thank you again for speaking with us today.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So Connie will be performing in LA at the Hotel Cafe for her CD release party for A Better Part of Me.
Yes.
On January 11th. For more information about Connie, go to her website, connielimmusic.com. And I'm Luann Algoso for Strength in Numbers.